Good day and welcome back. And yes, there's snow all over my horses and ice and all sorts of things. And no, I'm not going to remove it because this is not the subject of the video, but snow is actually a far better insulator than any man-made horse blanket. So the fact they're covered with snow, I'm not worried. And I'm not going to try removing the ice because that would probably tear out hair along with it. So we're just going to leave it alone. It'll eventually either fall off or evaporate all on its own. This one here actually has ice and snow on her too, but because of her color, it doesn't show up. But anyhow, not what I wanted to talk about. What I want to talk about today is why I do not lunge. I do not believe in lunging. Now, you will occasionally in my videos see my horses running around in circles. That's not lunging though. Worst case scenario, they might do a couple laps of this arena before I change direction, stop them or something. There's always an educational element to what I'm doing. I don't just have them run mindlessly in circles for no reason. As you can see, they're just hanging out right now. We'll probably put them to work a little in a few minutes here, but it won't be running around in circles for no reason. Now, I want to explain my reasoning behind not doing it. There's one of two reasons that people do it. One is for fitness. They like to exercise the horse. Well, if you don't keep it locked up, if it's out in a pasture, it can get a fair bit of exercise anyhow. This little one here, she actually lost a fair bit of weight this year running around with the herd out in the pasture. It was pretty cool. She actually went from you could barely get her to walk to she was volunteering a canter. She increased in fitness without any lunging whatsoever. I do occasionally make them run a little bit in here, but it's usually, like I said, an educational thing. They're changing direction, stopping, working on different gaits, that sort of thing. But fitness, that's one of the reasons. The other reason that people tend to lunge horses, and this is the one I have the biggest problem with, is the first one, the fitness thing, it's just simply not necessary. If the horse has got the proper amount of movement and you're doing regular groundwork with it anyhow, it's going to get lots of exercise. You don't have to worry about that. But the other one that I have the big problem with is if people have an issue with their horse, it's what is often referred to as a hot horse. So they have behavioral issues, they can't control it or whatever. I even heard just recently, I've heard many times, but just recently, I heard a trainer instruct his client to lunge the horse until it sweats before they ride it so they don't have problems. The horse was too much for them. Eventually, they ended up selling it because they didn't resolve the actual problem. And this goes back to what I've talked about many times in the past, is the difference between problems and symptoms. Is if you have to lunge a horse for any reason, or you think you do, for any reason prior to riding it, you're not addressing the actual problem. You're treating the symptom. And basically all that happens is when you run the horse around for 15, 20 minutes, half hour, or whatever, before you ride it, all you're doing is wearing it out and making it tired enough that it's too tired to argue with you. So, if you got a nervous, anxious horse, or, whatever the issue is, why it needs to be lunged, you're not fixing that problem. And if you go out on a trail ride and you end up, stopping somewhere for a while, the horse is going to get refreshed. And then when you go to leave, you're going to have all the same problems again. And you're going to have to, hey, hang on, people, stop. I got to lunge my horse for half an hour before we can ride back. That doesn't work. That's not practical. And if you use lunging as a Band-Aid solution to a problem, you're going to have to do it forever and ever and ever. Probably. Maybe not, but you're going to, for a long time anyhow, I can guarantee you that you are going to have to lunge that horse every time you want to ride it, and that's just pointless. And so my question is why do you have to lunge the horse? Or why do you think you have to lunge the horse before you ride it? Those are the problems that should be addressed. And that's why I don't lunge a horse, because I don't want to just put a Band-Aid on. I want to fix the actual problem. I want to find out if that horse needs to be lunged before you can ride it. Well, you probably shouldn't be riding it, and you should back up and fix the problems and the reason that it needs to be lunged in the first place, because that's what it's all about, is fixing the actual underlying problems, not just putting a Band-Aid on a symptom to hide it and make it go away for the time being, because you're going to run through an awful lot of Band-Aids if you do that, okay? So that is why I don't lunge. I fix problems, not symptoms. Have a good day.